So moving on to the next element of the three pillars of API security is testing. And here the goal is to ensure that your APIs are free of vulnerabilities, lack business logic flaws and the like. And the question here, where do you want to find them? Do you want to find them pre-production or in production? Naturally, the best practice is to make security testing part of your testing program. Virtually every line of code gets tested for functionality, for unit testing, for performance. It should also be getting tested for security as part of your CI/CD pipeline so that every single release gets evaluated. Now, the standard playbook of security tests tends to look at things like cross-site scripting, injections, buffer overflow attacks and the like. There are lots of ways to find these, and they're important tests to run. But if you recall from the earlier section on those real world breaches, none of those were a result of an injection or a cross-site scripting. For the most part, they were logic flaws in the application themselves. So you need to make sure that your testing program looks way beyond sort of the standard playbook type things, but to the unique functionality of your application. And we're big proponents of what we call API first testing. Historically, application testing has focused on the UI layer itself, whether it's a web app or a mobile app. But what attackers are doing is simply going around that right to the API itself. You saw that in many of the examples that we shared earlier. And this is why I like this quote from our good friend, Corey Ball, who wrote the Hacking APIs book and created our pen testing course. Most of our API flaws are getting missed by the standard tests. It's not injections that are causing these breaches. It's the lack of authentication. It's lack of authorization. It's things like that are exposing data that are then getting harvested in vast quantities from sites. It's not really abuse of the UI layer. It's abuse of the API layer. So we strongly recommend this concept of API first testing. And that's why we created the API pen testing course on AppSec University. The main point here is to show you how extensive the skill set and the testing needs to be. You can see on the right-hand side, the course goes through things like how to perform API recon. This is what hackers are going to do against you, how to analyze the endpoints and scan them for vulnerabilities, how to perform authentication and authorization attacks, looking for improper asset management, old versions and unsupported endpoints and out-of-date documentation, mass assignment attacks where you're modifying records and changing functionality, doing injection attacks and doing high rate limit type of attacks as well, and combining them all together into more sophisticated attacks. For folks who need to develop those types of skills, this is a great resource. It's totally free. We provide full certification, as you can see there, but highly recommended to develop this type of skill set to really understand the security posture of your APIs. And when you're looking at what kinds of things you should be testing for, this is by no means comprehensive, but should give a taste of the type of testing and coverage that you need, broken into these three categories. So from a security standpoint, looking for unsecured endpoints and authentication exploits, enumeration like those incrementing IDs, looking for rate limit issues and lack of encryption, fuzzing, and the server-side request forgery, properties leaks. All that sort of falls into the API security. Then you've got data security type of tests. So who's got access? What controls do you have in place? Are there gaps in those controls? Are we returning too much data? Are we returning sensitive data? Are we exposing file structures and directories? Are we encrypting the data? How can data get exfiltrated from our platform? And then over on the far right, the business logic. This is what's unique to you. What are the business flows that your application enables? How can those APIs be abused? What access controls do you have in place to make sure user A can't access user B's functionality? And doing pen testing regularly and in an automated fashion on every release.